Let's imagine that you are the product manager of Google Search. The current views per second of Google Search is 120, and the transactions per second of Google Search is 355. Let's say your engineering team runs their quarterly load tests, and they determine that Google Search will fall over once 424 transactions per second is reached. At the current rate of growth, your service, the Google Search service, is expected to hit 424 transactions per second in 4 months. So here's the question. How do we make sure Google Search can support 424 transactions per second in 4 months? So this is really a question of scalability. How do we scale Google Search? So in the next video, you will learn about system scalability and the core scaling solutions. First, I'm going to start off with a visual example of very, very high level how software works. Software engineers write code and then package them into what are known as code packages. Let's call these applications. Applications are then deployed onto a server, or often you'll hear engineers use the term host, which means the server that's hosting our application. Let's say that this single host can process the traffic generated by 3 customers visiting the website every second. So everything is going to work as expected as long as 3 or less customers are visiting the website every second. But what happens if there's a sudden surge in traffic, right? Now our poor host can no longer process all of the requests coming in, and so the website crashes. So this is a common problem known in the industry as system scalability. The definition of scalability is a system's ability to handle growing amounts of work, aka traffic, aka requests, by adding more resources to increase functionality. Okay, what are the resources? Remember, we talked a lot about the internet being just machines and wires, right? That's really just what it is. And machines can only handle so much. Every single machine, every single server in the world has limited resources. It only has a certain amount of RAM and a certain amount of memory and a certain amount of CPU. So that's the resources that I'm referring to. So the question that engineers must solve is, how do we scale our infrastructure to make sure that we can handle X amount of traffic measured as views per second and transactions per second? It is not your job as a product manager to know the solutions. That's the engineer's job. So product managers will never be expected to own the solution to a scaling problem. But the product manager should understand what scaling is, why is it important, and be able to communicate with engineers about it. Okay? So there are many ways to scale. But regardless of the scaling solution, underneath every single one of these scaling solutions is either vertical or horizontal scaling. So vertical and horizontal scalings are actually very simple concepts at its core. So let's talk a little bit more about them. Let's first start with vertical scaling. The definition of vertical scaling, also known as scaling up, some engineers, you'll hear them say, let's scale up, right? Is increasing a system's ability to handle more requests by upgrading to more powerful servers. So I'm going to do a little bit of animations here. Let's say you have a server that has 2.1 gigahertz of speed and 16 gigabytes of memory. Let's say that this machine, we know that this machine can serve up to 2 customers. All right. Now let's say that the traffic has gone up and we now need to serve 8 customers. If the team decides to scale up, then what they would do is remove that machine and they would install a more powerful machine. Let's say that this server now is 6.5 gigahertz of speed and it has 48 gigabytes of memory. So that is scaling up. In horizontal scaling, it's a little bit different. It's known as scaling out. So you'll hear engineers say, let's scale out. Horizontal scaling is increasing a system's ability to handle more requests by installing more servers, more of the same kind of servers. So let's say we have, again, the same machine of 2.1 gigahertz of speed, 16 gigabytes of memory, and that serves 2 customers. Again, the traffic has gone up and we want to serve 8 customers. So in scaling out, what we would do is we would now order 3 more of these machines. the same type of machine. So now we have more manpower.